Hi, and welcome to another episode of Enterprise Morning on Enterprise Television. I am Henry Igwibike. In a bit, we'll be going to our newspaper headlines to see what we have for you this morning, and right after that will be our main conversation also for today. And while we get everything all sorted out for you, please do well to visit our website at www.enterprisetvnews.com, like, comment, and follow us on all our social media platforms at Enterprise TV 7. With me in the studios to do justice to our newspaper headlines today is a friend in the house, Cyril Abaku. He is a public affairs analyst and a journalist. Good morning, Cyril, and welcome to Enterprise Morning today.
Thank you. I'm glad to be here.
All right, so quickly let's start off our newspaper headlines with the Daily Trust. And the big story here says the federal government cracks down on illegal crypto traders, and the writer there says as SEC rolls out new regulations. On the top strip of the same newspaper, we have Shettima aborts US trip over faulty aircraft, and we would have fared better if Yaradua had finished his tenure. And that's coming from General Gowon. I was offered 1 million naira to sell my kidney, 16 years old boy. And on the bottom strip of the same newspaper, Hamas accepts Egypt Qatari Gaza truce proposal. Mr. Cyril Abaku, let's talk about the issue of Shettima, aborting his US Dallas, Texas trip over faulty aircraft. I remember yesterday we did mention that he was about to leave when we were talking about the absence of His Excellency Bola Ahmed Tinubu, and we said, why would the president and his vice at the same time not be around to manage, the so many issues we have in the country? And this morning we have it right here on the front pages of Daily Trust that the vice president is no longer going to Dallas, Texas because of a faulty aircraft, which of course we still mentioned was the reason why a president took a chartered flight from Netherlands, I guess, to Saudi Arabia and so. So what is happening here?
I don't know what's happening, but it's a shame. It's an embarrassment on our national image. I don't know the last time I heard that any president of any country couldn't travel somewhere because of a faulty aircraft. I don't believe it. How many aircraft are there in the fleet? We've been complaining over the years that there are about 12 or 15 aircraft in the fleet and that it was too much. Now suddenly they can't even fly anymore. The story doesn't even begin with Shettima. We were told that the one the president went to the Netherlands developed a fault. Mm-hmm. Then the story said that a second aircraft or a second jet also couldn't move because that one too was faulty. Mm. Now I don't know if the second one was the one the vice president was supposed to travel with to Dallas, or it was the second aircraft that was with the president in the Netherlands. But whether it is one or two or three, how can all the aircraft break down at the same time? How can? And how is it that they didn't find out the problem with the aircraft until the time
about to
leave? I know their apologists will have all kinds of arguments for it, but do they have any argument against the shame and embarrassment and the problem this has caused us in the Committee of Nations? What argument are you going to put forth that your president traveled and was stranded? Your vice president was traveled and was stranded. Nigeria is not the only country that's going to have a minister attend that conference from Africa. The vice president of Lesotho is going to be there. The president of Botswana is going to be there. The president of Liberia is going to be there. The president of most presidents are going to be there. One vice president. Nigeria, the supposed giant of Africa, cannot attend because of a faulty aircraft. And we are the only ones who are going to send a minister. You know what ministers do? Even the vice president, what they do is that they only go to convey what the president wants them to say. Mm. They cannot and may not on their own be able to enter into bilateral, trilateral, quadrilateral, or even multilateral agreements. What are we even talking about? The presidency made an announcement last week that they had entered into a $600 million agreement with Maersk. Mm. It turned out to be false. Mm-hmm. So before then, they went to the UAE and said they had resolved the visa issue. It was false. Before then, before the UAE, the president went to the New York Stock Exchange and rang the bell for the exchange to open that day. They said he was the first African president to do it. It was a lie. So it's not even as if going to this US-Africa Business Summit is that we're expecting to hear some good big thing come out of it. But as we cannot even attend such a conference, basic things.
Because of a faulty aircraft.
It then shows that we are losing it on the big international stage. And even domestically, where is the president? Nobody knows. The vice president wants to travel, he cannot travel. So much for a government that is being...
So what do you think is possibly amiss? Are you insinuating that there is this possibility of maybe the Nigerian government, the federal government, going for a brand new aircraft as
well, I mean, you can't rule anything out of these people, because they can put up any act just to get anything they want, and they will tell you that for them to get the new aircraft, now they're going to sell off of Nigeria. You saw what they've done with the Lagos Calabar Coastal Highway, from nowhere to nowhere.
From Lagos to Calabar.
I don't know what that's all, from Calabar to Lagos, or from Lagos to Lagos, but from nowhere to nowhere. They said they want to create. It was not in the conversation. It was not in the picture. I wish they were pursuing this Lagos Coastal Highway with this. I wish they were pursuing power and the local refineries the same way they are pursuing this Lagos Coastal Highway. I'm sure by now would have had constant power and would have had fuel in the country being locally refined. They are not. So the vice president now cannot also travel. You see, even if, assuming without conceding that the goal is to acquire new aircraft and at inflated cost and so on, which of course they will do, because now they get a contractor to buy it for them. But the real issue is, you see, the reputational damage that you suffer sometimes can't be recovered. You cannot easily recover from it. There are countries that have built, and this is where my own concern comes in. There are countries that thrive on just good management. Not because they have the oil we have, or any, just good management.
Just having a good reputation.
Integrity, transparency, good management. Just having a reputation, good management. That if you went, why do people go to Dubai to buy things produced in their own countries? France, for example, have all the luxury items. In Paris, you know when they say see Paris and die. People will leave Paris. Instead of them to buy the perfume made in Paris, they go to buy it in Dubai. Why? Dubai didn't produce the stuff. Dubai just has a market. A market that draws people in. See, no matter how much of natural endowment you have, if you lack that space that draws people to come to you, you've lost it all. And that's why, in spite of everything we have, our space is toxic. You have problems of illegal miners in Zamfara. You have problems of insecurity on farms. Just yesterday in Enugu and Ebonyi, I think they invaded the community and killed the monarch. These are things that are not heard of. That's the same thing is happening in Ekiti, where you have people writing and saying, Mr. President, we want to break out of Nigeria. Okay? Then you come to this. So southeast, northwest, everywhere is so much so that and the American government is inviting our governors to come and learn how to govern their states. So no matter what resources you have, if you lack the will and capacity to provide leadership, you've lost it all.
Now, you are one of those that have, maybe outside of the studio, you have talked so greatly about the vice president, how that his intellectual, prowess
yes, I've said that sometimes.
It's above the moon, and he has what it takes. So what do you think is happening here, knowing that he's got all of this dexterity and he is not in any way influencing that?
So let me put it in perspective. Rotimi Amechi is an intellectual. You have to give it to him. But he was the one that said in 2015 that if the elections of that year didn't go to the APC, that the APC was going for a parallel government. He said that like Mohammed supported him. Then later on, the vice president, Yemi Oshibajo, then VP candidate of the party, went on national television to say that he supported also what Amechi had said. All of these are intellectuals. The vice president for the one is a professor of law. You realize that a supported man of integrity and everything. But so the question is, when you have integrity and intellectualism, what is it for? That's the question. Because the corrupted will can serve any purpose. Okay? Nasser El-Rufai always came across as an intellectual also. I don't know if you agree with me.
Very true.
Was he not the one that said in 2019 that the EU and all the observers should write the result and go? That if they did anything more than that, they'll find themselves in body bags. That they'll go back in body bags.
Yeah.
Didn't he say that?
He said that.
What did the party say? The party overwhelmingly supported him. the APC as a party for support. So the question is, somebody can be who he is in his own right, okay? You can't take it away from him. But that gift he has, or that intellect, what is it being now used for? Because you see, this is the argument. For example, Sani Abacha was in power for 5 solid years, and he could have been there if death had not taken him.
True.
People always looked at him as all these, you know, Southerners had have of the writing Northerners and say, all these people. But do you think that a man who was able to hold on to power very firmly was behaving like a cow? He had people. Look, these guys thrive on intelligence that is arguably on the same scale or higher than those who think they know better than those in government. In the daytime, they look like people that are making all the mistakes, but in the night, they have some of the finest brains you can think of in the land. Who write? How was Abacha writing those decrees? Was he a lawyer? Did they ever think of how they are crafting those decrees, those draconian rules? Buhari does not even look like somebody who has the temperament or capacity for anything. I mean, in the world of letters. Decrees 4 and Decree 20 of 1984. How did he write them? Who wrote it? Did he pick up his pen to write those decrees? They had lawyers who did that bidding. There are intellectuals, university dons. Sometimes even, you know, people at the highest levels of intellectual genius achievement who go cap in hand begging. Professor Shundari said all this things. Sometimes they go and meet a traditional leaders in the village, say, take us to His Excellency, we will do anything he wants to do. Just let him give us an appointment. So when a scholar comes cap in hand begging and saying anything you want.
So which means he's ready to give up.
Have you forgotten Babangida, for example? How did Abacha have the finest economy that we've had in recent times? Babangida alone, for example, had a collection of a galaxy of intellect. He, from his Minister of Petroleum to Minister of Finance to Minister of Health to Minister of all the people that Babangida ever gathered together. We are globally competitive brains. He was there for 8 years. So when I said that Shettima is, of course, I mean Zenith Bank. You saw the person that was at par with him in Zenith Bank is not the MD CEO, Adaro Umeoji.
Oh, okay.
That was the person that, you know, I mean,
that they worked together.
Yes, he said it himself. That in Zenith Bank, that look at Zenith Bank, that if there's anybody who was on his scale with him and Zenith Bank, it was Adaro Umeoji. Somebody said jokingly that no, it's not because of merit. It's because he was able to convince Northern governor to put money in the bank. I don't know anything about that. But even if he did it, was he the only Northern working in Zenith Bank? If you're smart, you're smart. Give it to them. But so what is the smartness for? That's the question.
Of course,
a smartness that makes you when I allocated 15 billion naira to build the house for you, why did you need to shout and say that money is too much?
Of course, and speaking about that, I think it's still very important we make remember of Professor Chukwuma Soludo, the current governor of Anambra State, who was a professional in macroeconomics, and right now he has a state that has all it takes to become the China of
Africa. Do you know that at the time Soludo was in the running for governor, I said on TV, national TV, I said Soludo's track record is longer than the track itself.
Exactly.
That his record was longer than it. That was how I put it. The same way when I saw the charisma Peter Mba of Enugu was putting up, I said this man is a man for the future. Former finance commissioner, former chief of staff, he's in oil and gas, he's a maritime lawyer, he's a lot of things. But now he's governor. I don't know if I had even if I had a free ticket to go to Enugu, I'm not sure I want to go there. But this was a man, I've never met him before. I think I've cited him one time at a hotel, but I've never had cause to interact with him. But I saw the sort of charisma that Peter Mba, you know, was and I said, this guy is a man to look out for. But look at a man like the governor of Borno State now. What's his name? Governor Babagana Zulu.
Yeah, Zulu.
That's a man that does not even put up any airs and graces. Yes, yet he has the capacity to turn any space is given into an El Dorado. He's doing it in Borno State. Nursery schools with AC, story buildings, you know, all sorts of things. Even for the insurgency, I'm sure that by now Borno would have been so this is the thing. Sometimes those that you expect to do a lot of things, maybe because they know too much or whatever it is, but like I said, when you know so much, what do you know so much for? What are you using it for? That's the question.
Very true. All right, so let's move on to the Guardian newspaper for today. The big story here says consumers seek lower tariff as NAC adopts a monthly review. 100 and 1,227 naira to the dollar cap. It's what they're making the review from. And also we have on the bottom strip of the same newspaper concerns over Tinubu's whereabouts as Shettima cancels the U.S. trip. Institution bemoans a shortage of radiographers nationwide. And NLC TUC mobilized to a short knock discourse officers nationwide. Mr. Cyril Abaku, let's talk about the issue of the consumers seeking lower tariff as NAC adopts a monthly review. And of course, it says here, NLC TUC mobilized to shut down NAC discourse offices nationwide. I think it's fair to say that in the last couple of days, we've seen good development with respect to energy. In some parts of Lagos, that is.
Well,
yes, we've seen a little bit of 10 to 12 hours, 15 hours of power supply in most homes.
You're having that?
Yes, I think so. Yes,
Great.
we have. Yes.
Great.
Yeah, so I want to believe it's spreading across. And I guess it's because sometimes in the daily we read that the federal government has seized the discourse and had given out to new people. So the question is, why do you think at this point the NLC would want to cascade that to a point where we would see ourselves in the same quagmire we found ourselves?
I want this to be on record that if I became president of Nigeria today, Nigerians will stop paying for electricity within the shortest time possible. They will stop paying for power. They will have it free of charge, okay? Because our leaders are thinking backwards. They are not thinking for the future. Power is our currency for attainment, for achievement, for us, both as a nation and as individuals, to attain our highest potential, right? So any attempt to put a cap on how much of it we should have is a fraud and a crime on our nationhood, one. Number two is the fact that whatever the NLS and TUC are doing, I have little or no faith in them.
Okay.
As they currently are. I would consider some of the leaders to be people that I know and that I expected more from. But when you hear particularly the NLC declare that they want to go on strike, I mean, do you believe that they'll go on strike?
Now, speaking of that, I just saw a good one here. Federal government cuts electricity sales to neighbors for local supply. You know what that means, of course, which means neighboring countries.
I don't. I believe we have the capacity to even feed Africa, the whole of Africa, free power. You see, this thing that they are doing, right, is all a joke. It's all a joke. You will never know the what for the follow-up to this story, maybe by Friday or by next week. You would hear, you may hear an entirely different version of events, completely different from what we have today. I'm not in any way taking I'm not taking in. No, I can't be taking. The politics of power is extremely opaque. We need to even undertake a 50-year audit of power in this country. Are you aware that there was a discovery one time in Osun that government was paying electricity bills on its own facility to a private individual for almost for the something years? First, let's ask ourselves the first question. What, fellow Nigerians, what is the philosophy of electricity in our country? Why do we need power? The Chinese have a great answer to that. They said power, that they must power their development. Okay? So at the root of what you see the Chinese doing today is power. Nigeria has the capacity to be greater, to be bigger, to be better than any country in the world.
True. Because
we have the people, we have the knowledge, we have the capacity. All right? But until we have made education and power free, we can never unlock that potential. So all the discussion about why are they you see what they should have done is this. When they brought up the tariff hike, was when they should have known that they didn't have enough power to go around. Therefore, they should have withdrawn the one that was given to our neighbors, brought it back so that those who are now paying the increased tariffs can have enough power. But are you aware now that yesterday, at least two discos reduced their tariffs? One.
Yes.
They did. But I'm not particularly elated over that because it is like under managing what could have been optimally managed from the get-go.
Very true.
It was not necessary. So this whole power thing is shrouded in some kind of secrecy and opacity that must be smashed. It's a carapace that must be smashed. So then, look, see what we should even be talking about. Power should be so decentralized that every home and every individual can determine how to source for it, and how to use it. It's technology. I won't say it here. How to source for it and how to use it by themselves. Earnest by themselves. That's how it ought to be. Anything other than that will amount to fraud.
Very true. Finally and quickly, let's move to Vanguard newspaper. And the big story here says petrol scarcity, why pump price is high in our stations, and that's coming from Ipman. And the writer here says price gap between major marketers and independent distributors, that is, widens. And on the top strip of the same newspaper, claims of foreign military base in Nigeria false, and that's coming from the federal government. Technical fault in aircraft aboard Shettima trip to U.S. Africa summit. Article becoming a fond of distorting facts to discredit Bola Ahmed Tinubu. Interestingly, we have it here. Edo 2024, PDP APC governorship aspirants resign from parties, and it's talking about the writer here says it's on the issue of party chieftain bicker over funds. Mr. Baku, what is happening here? I don't know how true this is. The PDP APC governorship aspirants resign from parties.
It has turned into a rat race of some kind. If so, clearly now, clearly there is some. The word that comes to mind is wizardry. You know, wizardry, a wizard is a male, a witch is a female. Yeah. So you have wizardry, you have witchcraft. But all the players in Edo are men. So I'm seeing a lot of political wizardry going on. This is black magic politics. And the way it is looking, it is difficult to tell who is for who. You see, Adams Oshiomhole in the APC had the state labor house named after him by Governor Obaseki. It didn't have to be. He didn't have to attend the event. He didn't have to hobnob with the governor the way he did in recent weeks. Okay, but he chose to, and yet he is the leader of the APC who apologized to people who defected and who came back to mend friends with him. The Edo legacy group in Edo, the powerful legacy group, Oshiomhole has a stronghold there. He has his men there. Okay, then that's the same legacy group that is supporting Shaibu against Obaseki. Meanwhile, Oshiomhole is both with legacy group. He has received the members and is also hobnobbing with the governor. Where does Oshiomhole stand? And when the PDP, when the APC thinks they were pulling the rug from under the feet of Obaseki, it appears that he too is having a way of pulling the rug under there. So there's this whole thing is looking very, very black. Frankly speaking, if you took a crystal ball, all you see are clouds. That's where Edo is right now. Nobody can tell for sure who is able to sit back and look at the chessboard thoroughly and tell where the way from by the game plan to tell what exactly is going to be the outcome of the elections in was it early next year or so?
Yes, in November.
In November, yes. So I find it worrisome, really. November is Ondo, okay, and then after that, Edo. I find it a bit worrisome because right now there's a lot of convolution. So today's because they now the aspirants are resigning and resigning. The other day, Danobi said he won't support the governor at all. Meanwhile, Danobi is PDP chairman, vice chairman, South. And he was one of the governor, the PDP's strong backers that helped Governor Obaseki to win re-election when he left the APC to join the PDP. Ostensibly, it was supposed to be that power will go back to will go back to a candidate, or so we'll go to a candidate to be determined by the legacy group or other strong forces within the party that helped Obaseki win a second term. Now that Obaseki has won a second term, he became his own man. That's my thinking.
Now, do you see a repeat of what happened sometimes in Imo State when there was this kind of rancor between two big parties, and the winning went to someone who was from
People
the
have
minority.
said that.
Do you see Akpata possibly taking the reign?
People have said that, but I think that Akpata also has his own hurdles to deal with, because in Akpata they find a common enemy. You saw what they did to him at Uniben. In Akpata they have a common enemy. They are spreading propaganda against him that he is Olumide, and that he took a deputy who is a Yinka or something like that, and so on and so forth. For me, that doesn't hold water. If you ask me.
But he's a true-born Edo State.
Not only he is a true-born visionary, in my view. He is a true-born visionary. I mean, looking at what he has done for himself as a private lawyer, I think that a man like Akpata holds promise for Edo State. But when two bitter enemies find a common enemy in anybody, then they will find a way to vent all their enmity on that person before they now come back to settle their own score. So he is not. I don't particularly envy him, but I hope that
and of course,
he gets his due.
Yes, and of course, unfortunately, in politics, they often say the one man who is talked about the most in derogatory manner might, at the end of the day, be the one
of course,
leadership.
Of course, is a possibility.
Yes. All right. So that's just about the time we have for our newspaper reviews today. I'd love to say thank you to Cyril Abaku. I want to ask you remain with us.
Sure, I'll be here.
All right. So when we return, a presidency admits to Seyi Tinubu's involvement with Chagari, a silent, unwavering bidding process for Lagos Calabar Highway. That in a beat. When we come back, please don't go anywhere.